high five. Come on. Inside the 10. Heads first. He flies inside the 5-yard line.
Rushing forward, ball comes out of the hands of Newton. It's on the ground and still on the ground. Picked up by T.J. Ward at the 4-yard line.
Davis gets 19 to McCaffrey with a 19-yard reception. But Terrell again for at least 19 and more than that. Inside the 10, touchdown Denver.
All week long, Marty Schottenheimer talked to his
Manning out of the gun. Manning lets it fly. It's caught by Thomas. There's the record for Peyton Manning.
And welcome into the show, everybody. I'm Mundungus Creevy, joined today by my co-host, as always, Glenn Hauser, a 6'10", and Mr. Boggins. Make sure that you like, subscribe, share, comment, and turn on notifications so that you can get alerted anytime we go live on YouTube, Facebook, Twitter, and Twitch. Also, tune into all of our other podcasts. Broncos Talk every Tuesday at 7654. The Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast every Friday at 7654. And the Neighborhood pregame show every Broncos game day. So how we doing, fellas, after a glorious victory over the Lions?
Good.
Woo!
Feeling
We did it.
good. In the
We did it.
I was so nervous going into halftime. I was just like, what are we doing? Like that almost, I mean, at the ending score was the ending score, but like at a certain point, I think a lot of Broncos fans were like, oh my gosh, what's happening? Like this is like the game of all games that we cannot screw up.
Like 14 to 10, yeah.
Yeah, and it got a little nerve wracking there, but we came back and did what we needed to do.
Yeah. I mean, it was a real nail biter at first, but thankfully the defense stepped up, the offense stepped up. I mean, it was a great game. The Denver went in there with really heavy heart in memory of Demaryius Thomas. But thankfully they didn't let that get down. They actually used that as motivation going forward, and hopefully they continue to do so as the season comes to a close to a close.
Sorry, I feel like I'm forgetting something. I don't think I am. But...
Absolutely. It was a great tribute, to DT, and with Cortland being the 11th man coming out there or waiting for the delay of game at first. And, it was funny because I posted on Twitter earlier that I really can relate now to the Jackson Mahomes dancing on Sean Taylor's number at the Washington game this last year. And I can't even imagine what would have happened if that happened during the Broncos game. Like if just someone didn't know and was placed in the area and just like, oh my God, like the fans, the seats would have emptied. That's for sure.
Well, I like how somebody reposted that, like shaming him for what he did, and then him apologized, saying though he was directed to go over there, and it was completely an accident. And they're like, really? You were directed to go into the fenced off area, specifically to do that?
You see, not to do that, no, but like you do see, like there was a shot of them, like the whole family was just in. They were literally all in that, like his wife, everyone was in there, and it's like, what official is like, you're Patrick Mahomes' family. Oh yeah, just stand in here. This seems fine.
Well, which is funny because like you would think that those it's obvious that those ropes are there to keep you out, not to keep you in. And
they're not inviting you.
Jackson Mahomes, that the Kansas City bar that he was acting up in, and just absolutely buried him. My only complaint is that the bar the next day said, that wasn't, we didn't behave ourselves with that kind of response. I'm like, there's not a person on the planet that didn't love what just happened to that entitled no nothing.
That guy has lawyers though. They didn't even have to do much besides give them a ton of heat just to scare him. And that small business was like, all right, fine. We'll just apologize. We're not about to get into this stuff.
Yeah. Which is well, Since I know that none of my kids are in the chat, and I'll go ahead and put some money in the swear jar. Jackson Mahomes is a douche canoe, so don't really care.
I don't even think you have to put anything in the swear jar for that one. I just don't even know what that means.
I heard nothing.
Is it cussing if you don't know what the word means?
Yeah, I've never heard that before.
Well, you learn some pretty colorful things in the military. So,
Okay.
douche canoe, twat waffle, take your pick. He's one of the two.
Well, that's
or
different.
both.
Yeah,
I heard
okay,
the
that's
second.
And I
So,
can
yeah,
say
let's
Mile High Chub, whatever.
Yeah.
That was just surprising.
At least it's Bronco related.
Or if you caught the beginning segment of Tuesday's show, Johnny said everybody do the mic high five. So I thought that was hilarious, and he's like, he meant to autocorrect himself, said like mile high five.
Oh, gotcha.
Did it?
That's the mic.
It's always bad when,
So-
when the thing that you came up with and are trying to spread like wildfire that you spell it wrong.
Mm-hmm.
Good work, John.
Then you've got our podcast where I kind of want to mess it up every single time. Like, we're gonna do the Mile High 4 now, and just keep screwing with it every single time.
If I learned one thing out of second grade, it was that spelling is hard.
Yeah.
Avatar's heard the first one. Jackson Mahomes is a douche canoe.
Don't
Let's
ever
move
say
on
that
to
again.
Jackson Mahomes.
Avatar must watch a lot of MASH.
What?
Okay, I don't get that one either.
Mhm.
All right, so moving on from that interesting comment. The title of the podcast is Broncos Find Their Identity. And it looks like, and again, it was against the Lions, but I'm just, what?
No, it's just funny because like we went into the season knowing that this was supposed to be the identity of the Broncos.
Yeah, and then it was
somehow
different, and then it changed again, and now it's back to where we thought it was going to be.
It's like being sure you knew which car was yours, and then getting to the car and realizing you don't have your keys, and then it's like, is this really my car? And then later on, like 10 weeks later, you find your keys and realize, yes, it was your car the whole time. That's what's happening. And at least we're driving somewhat. Yeah.
And defensively, I think we had a pretty good idea of what we had at the beginning of the year, but we didn't expect not having Johnson and Jewell, and then the linebacker play just completely dropping off. So once we got Browning in there and once we got Young in there, they were kind of able to stabilize it. The defense we're now starting to see is back to where we thought it was supposed to be. It just took forever to figure out the offensive identity. And I don't know why, because nothing has really changed offensively since the beginning of the season.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we had Judy out for a couple weeks.
Well, the offensive line, I guess you could say, but even that's a stretch.
Mm-hmm.
In terms of which guys are good for a certain pull and runs and what have you. I'm sorry, Boggins, go ahead.
Oh no! I was gonna say we're running more. Like that's what's changed. We're actually like trusting.
But that's what I'm saying. Like, but that's what I'm saying. Like roster wise and offensive wise, nothing's really changed. Like we didn't have to add anybody. We didn't have to bring anybody in. We had them on the team already.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, the only difference would probably be Quinn Miners, who's a beast in the run game, obviously, and he's probably going to make like one of the all rookie team. But nothing really has changed that much outside of that. Besides getting Judy back, which does also opens things up because you're not going to not focus on Jerry Judy.
Oh, stop.
We talked about the defense a second ago, who would have expected that our inside linebackers would be out? Who would have expected that the Broncos would have traded Von Miller midseason and actually the defense would become better? It's pretty crazy how that's happened.
Mm-hmm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and like the big, and I know we've talked about before, but the pairing of Melvin Gordon with Javonte Williams. I mean, Melvin Gordon was saying that he didn't think the Broncos fans supported him, wanted him to be here. Why would you not re-sign Melvin Gordon at this point? I mean, 5.5 per year for 2 years. I mean, you're looking about $11 million. I'd be fine with that.
Yeah, and I think
I don't know if he would.
I think he might. I think there will be incentive if it's very clear that the Broncos are going to make a hard push for an Aaron Rodgers or a Russell Wilson. I think Melvin Gordon like to take, still decent pay for potentially going to the Super Bowl and to potentially just shove it in the face of his old team at any point. So I think it's possible. I know that there's been a lot of numbers going around between 3.5 to 5.5, pretty much. I would be cool in that range. I would like to stay in between there, like around 4. But yeah, them together is like a Nick Chubb and Kareem Hunt style type offense that I really like.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
And we're the one drop off that we're seeing is Jerry Jeudy he doesn't have a receiving touchdown this year. And Cortland Sutton, he's dropped off since they re-signed the contract. And I'm not saying that's his fault. Mm-hmm. Same thing with Tim Patrick. It's just a lot more of the offense is geared towards the run and towards the running backs that we're seeing a drop off with production with Jeudy, Patrick, and Sutton. And part of me thinks that one of the reasons why they re-signed was under the understanding that we're going to be bringing in a quarterback next year that's going to be able to utilize your skills better than what we're doing this year.
Absolutely.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
At least I hope that's something that was.
I'm pretty certain that a plan was spelled out to those guys in order to get them to sign on, not only as early as they did, but at the prices that they did.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely. I mean, you're not paying him this year. I mean, when Teddy's still here, I mean, you don't start until we actually have a veteran quarterback next year. So that's the plan, essentially. Like, Teddy's the manager, the game manager, to hopefully be in there to not mess it up, unless it's Casey, and then he does mess it up, and that's what happens.
Yeah. The only one, it's 2 areas, but concerning the defense, the only thing that I would change, and I've said it before, is instead of having Purcell in the middle and Reed as an outside linebacker, I'd rather have Deshaun Williams and Stephen Weatherly. It just seems like Purcell's not holding up in the middle. Williams is playing well when he's in. I'd also like to see Ajeem get in there a little more. But you never want to see Shelby Harris not in there. So I don't know. The defensive line is hard because I like Williams more than I like Purcell, but at the same time, I think that's an area we should look for in the offseason, as well as with offensive center. So I think that there still needs to be some tweaking on the defensive side of the ball just to get the right rotation in there. Mm-hmm. But I'm satisfied with what we've got on defense right now. I'd say we're top 5.
Yeah, I think Purcell is like the size you want for a one tech, and like you wish that he would be able to do more. I think that's why they gave him the contract at least. But he hasn't performed well this year. Deshaun Williams is a little bit squattier. Not like the size, not the optimal size you want. And Ajeem is even smaller.
Portly.
Yeah. So like, I don't see Ajeem really taking over, especially not at the one tech. He's just too small for that. But I do think it's something that we address in the offseason. Absolutely. Get like a Jordan Davis or something, just like the giantest human that's ever humaned. Yeah, get him in there, and then he will fill all those gaps, every single one of them.
So Mike just said, Mike mentioned center, and he told me earlier today his dream sign.
Don't ruin my segue.
I didn't. I was gonna pass it back to you to say it.
Yeah. So there was.
Well, don't mess it up now. You already told everybody about it, and it's going to be like it's all.
I know, right?
Now. Better be a good segue, or
Well, what I was going to say was the Broncos already added some people as far as Clinton Dix and Travis Fulgham, which I don't think really matters unless we put one of them on kick return, which would be Clinton Dix, because I don't think Fulgham returns kicks.
Mm-hmm.
But looking at the offseason, I think that there is one. Other than quarterback, there's one glaring need that the Broncos need, and I think that's at center. I think Cushenberry is okay as a backup, but I don't think he's a starting center yet. And when I was looking through free agents in this coming off season, one center stood out that I think we should go after. Matt Paradis. Go get him. Bring him back.
Oh boy.
Is this contract almost over with Carolina?
Yeah, he's a free agent.
Oh.
RFA or UFA?
UFA.
Oh. Yeah, maybe.
Yeah. See, not all my ideas are stupid.
No, but I would also like. I think that linebacker and cornerback is also one of our positions we really need to look at because we don't know if we're bringing back Bryce Callahan. We don't. I mean, Fuller, I highly doubt is coming back. Ojemudia was okay. Bassie was okay, but there's still definitely you could still increase that positional value over there. And as far as like inside linebacker, are you gonna re-sign Josie? Are you gonna re-sign Alexander Johnson? It seems like a lot of people don't really care about Alexander Johnson. A lot of people are on the Kenny Young hype train, but he has been really exposed over the last couple of weeks. So It's like, what do you want to do? I think it is going to come down to defense or line for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna have to disagree with my co-host there, where he says Matt Paradis is getting old. And I mean, that's true, but
you're getting old.
But most of your offensive line is probably the one position where your age doesn't really affect your ability. I mean, look at Andrew Whitworth from the Rams. He's about to turn 40-something.
The dude's like 57 years old right now.
Yeah, he already is 40. He turned 40 the other day.
Thank you. He's 40 years old, just turned 40, and he's still doing a really good job out there in Los Angeles. Jason Peters for the Bears, playing right tackle. I mean, he's not the Jason Peters of old per se, but he's getting the job well done. And if it buys Cushenberry sometimes in terms of a backup role, like Mike said, maybe he could learn from a guy like Paradis, and then they could take another chance on him. Or, I mean, who knows? But throwing Cushenberry into the fire when he got drafted was a really big risk for him, and unfortunately, he hasn't been able to develop that starter mentality yet. So while the rest of the offensive line seems to be, coming together with an up and down roller coaster with Reisner, I will give you Reisner. Reisner's been struggling this year.
Oh, sorry.
So, but not as bad as Cushenberry. But still, if they were to replace the center, I would be okay with bringing Matt Paradis back.
Sorry, I didn't mean to. I was just replying to that comment that you had put up there.
Which one? The one right here, right now?
The Jordan Davis one. That he'll be gone at the end of the first round. That Peyton needs to draft a QB in round one. He definitely doesn't need to draft a QB in round one.
Dude, honestly, I don't even know if there's any quarterbacks that are going to go in the first round. I mean, other than maybe.
Absolutely.
Well, I'm trying to think of like quarterback needy teams that would reach up to get one.
Giants.
I mean, you got
Saints,
Pittsburgh.
Mm-hmm.
Pittsburgh Saints.
Yeah, but do you think the Saints are going to reach for one, or are they going to try to stick with Jameis?
Maybe as a backup to Jameis, but not as a starter.
But I definitely think there are options out there. Washington football team also.
Mm-hmm.
They're definitely.
You don't think they're going to stick with
Heineke?
No, I don't.
They might give him some competition.
Couldn't you see the Steelers grabbing a Kenny Pickett?
Yep.
But that's
University
what I'm saying. Though, like
shares the Heinz Field facility with the Steelers, so you just have to move from one locker.
They wouldn't.
Be completely.
Nobody'd have to move up for him, though, would they?
Depends.
Like I don't think this is a draft where you move up to go get a quarterback in the first.
Oh gosh, yeah, not unless like I don't want to say that because if you feel that's your guy. You need to go for your guy. Like as a GM, that's what you should do. If you feel that that's your guy for your organization, that's the future, then you go get it no matter what.
Mm-hmm.
So I can't say that, you shouldn't use a first round pick on it. I'm saying I probably would not use a first round pick on any of these quarterbacks. They're just way too raw and just like it's just such a mixed bag this year.
Who's the
best? Do you see any go top 10?
Do I see any going top 10?
Kind of the same. Who's the best, and do you see any going in the top 10?
Yeah, I could see one going in the top 10, possibly to the Giants, or if a team was good enough and bluffing and getting another team to jump up. Who knows? Maybe even the Eagles. Maybe the Eagles aren't very convinced with Jalen Hurts.
Oof.
And they swing on like a Malik Willis or something. Who do I think is the best? Man, it's seriously such a mixed bag. It just depends on what you're looking for. Like if you're looking for pure ceiling upside, Malik Willis is the best in the class as far as just like mobility, arm talent. If you're looking for potentially ready to go week one, you're looking at like a Kenny Pickett, Carson Strong. But like Carson Strong has like the zero mobility. So it's just like really depends on what you're looking for. If I were to bet right now, I would probably say either Kenny Pickett or Matt Corral would probably be the first quarterback taken. But I think this is going to be the first year since like 2013 that a quarterback doesn't go in the top 3.
Well, we've got 3 teams that take up 6 of the 10 first picks.
Mm-hmm.
Currently,
Because we got the Dolphins have 2, Giants have 2, and the Eagles have 2, but might have 3. Because
I don't know if
I think the
Eagles have 4.
I think
Eagles will definitely have 3. Not
the
the
Eagles have 2. The
10.
Eagles get a third first in the top 10 if
No, not in the top 10, Mike.
or just three
they have the
first
Colts.
rounders. If with the Colts, if Carson Wentz hits
Stays.
a starting mark, if he starts a certain percentage of the season, that their second rounder goes up to a first rounder.
yeah,
And he's
the
about
Jets,
to hit
the
that
Jets,
now.
Giants, and Eagles
Jets.
the Jets, Giants, and Eagles all 3 have 2 picks in the top 10. That's why it makes it very interesting for Philly and the Giants to be more in on the Russell Wilson thing because they have more trade value to be able to
To lure
offload.
him there.
Yeah,
Mhm.
more immediate and really immediate.
But
too, but
Russell Wilson has a no trade clause, correct? So he'd have to waive it.
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But that was
Does he
those
waive
are-
it for any of those 3?
No.
Yeah, that's what I was saying. Put the
Maybe the
based on
Giants?
the report that may or may not be true, or the Giants and Philly was one that he had already been talking about, or it had already been reported that was one of the other teams that was involved outside of the Broncos and potentially the Saints or whatever. So it's very possible. And Philly is a bigger market, not than New York, but
True.
Philly is a big market.
Well, and this is one thing that I talked to Glenn about a couple hours ago was, we'd spent last week talking about Aaron Rodgers, who I still don't think is going to leave Green Bay. Not that he doesn't want to, but I just don't think Green Bay is going to let him go. I mean, they might because of drafts or cap space, but let's say that Rodgers and Wilson are off the table. Either they went somewhere else or they're not moving, whatever. There's two other quarterbacks I think potentially could be available, but there's possibilities. One would be Cousins, but I don't see Cousins leaving unless Zimmer's gone. If Zimmer's gone, then possibly. Just because of the George Payton connection, the Minnesota thing, I could see Cousins being an option. And then there's Matt Ryan. But, man, that's a big cap hit for Matt Ryan.
Yep.
So I don't know if that would happen either. But those are 2 options if Russ or Rodgers aren't available. I mean, are we down for either one of those 2 either?
Eek.
Not preferably. Kirk Cousins has had a good year. Matt Ryan's, I still think would be. I mean, they would both definitely be elevations to our offense, like no question at all.
Yeah.
I think just the allure of Aaron Rodgers and Russell Wilson just makes their names look a lot less pleasing. But what they do, I mean, they're definitely not even a question. They are better than Teddy Bridgewater, so they would elevate our offense absolutely. And for those cap hits, oof, I just don't know if it'd be worth it on my end, but I would take it because we would still probably at least make the playoffs with that.
Mm-hmm.
I couldn't agree more with Jeff's comment there and his next one, which was the follow-up to that. Denver does have a better young roster than any team that's competing for veteran quarterbacks. I think the whole Ciara wants to be in a big market, is so overblown. Russell Wilson is not going to make a business decision based on his wife's music career. I mean, please. Somehow she's managed to
depends on who brings in more money.
Yeah, right. But what a terrible time to be a Seahawks fan this year when they've given up their pick and now they suck. It's like, it's got to be just so discouraging.
I guess the only person that you could probably make the exception to Jeffrey's comment would probably be Russell Wilson, who was drafted in 2012, and then the following year the Seahawks won the Super Bowl. So, I mean, it's a pretty
anomalies.
Yeah, there's always an anomaly. And while I do agree with you, Jeffrey, unfortunately, to play devil's advocate, it has happened before in flashes. But I totally agree with you. A veteran quarterback would be something that Denver really desperately needs to get things going, because Denver is in a win now mode. They have the offense, and especially with Colin Cowherd earlier saying that there's only one place for Aaron Rodgers to go, and that's Denver. That makes the most sense anyway. So, but if it came down to it, where Rodgers doesn't budge and Russell Wilson doesn't budge, I do believe that Peyton would probably roll the dice and take a bet and bet on a Kirk Cousins over a Matt Ryan, because like you guys said, Matt Ryan's price tag is way too heavy, and if Denver doesn't win, it wouldn't be worth it at all.
Well, I'm assuming that Matt Ryan would. If it came down to Matt Ryan, I'm hoping that the Broncos and Matt Ryan would be able to renegotiate so that his cap hit isn't so much, because his cap hit isn't it in like the 40 millions? It's huge, isn't it?
Something like that. I mean, you would potentially be able to restructure something, but it would still be ridiculously high. And to reply to that comment about Keenum and Flacco, it's not the same thing. Matt Ryan and Kirk Cousins are absolutely better than Joe Flacco or Case Keenum were at that time. It's not just like a flash in a pan for like Case Keenum or Joe Flacco, who rode his way with a good defense to the Super Bowl win. So,
well, I mean, you could even throw out an argument that Matt Ryan is potentially a future Hall of Famer. I mean, he's not a lock like a lot of Aaron Rodgers. Yeah, but I could put in a good argument that Matt Ryan's probably going to be a Hall of Famer.
You either win Super Bowls with the Patriots are kind of an anomaly of being able to have the best quarterback ever and the best coach ever. But usually win either with a future Hall of Fame quarterback on his rookie contract, or a team that you built very well and have placed in a QB that can at least keep you in games enough to win, like a Nick Foles. So I think we are at that point where we have built a good enough team to where now we just need to place an at least sustainable quarterback to be able to continue the train on to the Super Bowl.
Right. And let's say that we get into a competition with the Giants and the Eagles, or possibly even the Saints, for Russell Wilson's services. I mean, you look at the Saints cap, you look at the Giants cap, and yes, they could do some magic and make it work, but how many players currently on their roster are they going to have to get rid of in order to get Russell Wilson on their roster? Whereas Denver really wouldn't have to get rid of any, except maybe in the trade.
Yeah. There's another point on to make with those other three teams that you mentioned. They're all NFC teams. Do you think Seattle's going to keep Russell Wilson in the NFC when they're
probably trade him to the 49ers?
Yeah. I mean, that's
probably not their first choice.
Absolutely not. And I think you have to think.
Did you just spill all over yourself?
If you
maybe. I don't think I did.
Didn't it look like he did?
No, it didn't.
I thought he did too.
Leave me alone. I'm an old guy.
All right, I'm gonna have to go 30 minutes in and see what we find.
So Jeffrey Bryan says players have the leverage now. If Rodgers and Wilson want out, they're out. Now, that is correct, but this is what makes the whole Rodgers thing interesting, because Rodgers really doesn't have any leverage right now. No, he doesn't. You keep saying he does, but he doesn't.
He does not play.
Right, but that's what I'm saying. Like he doesn't have any leverage to get traded because Green Bay has already proven that they're more than happy to let him sit and not go anywhere and not play and not get rid of him.
How?
Like they proved that this last offseason. This last offseason, they're like,
how far did they get? How far before Aaron Rodgers actually was like, okay, fine, I'll come back. Like before they were able to like beg for him to keep. They looked so sad out there in the pressers and anything, doing anything they could to get him back. Brought Randall Cobb back, right? So he finally came back before he was there. It's not like he went into the season. He could go into the season and not play. Then you have a problem.
But then it would be the exact same thing as if they traded him. Because either way, they're not going to have him.
Yeah. So if you go, that's what I'm saying. He has the leverage. So if he goes in there, he doesn't play, then they're like, well, he's not going to play for us again. We better at least get something. And I think you could make that very clear in the offseason. If you do not plan on playing for that team again at all, then they're going to be like, well, we should probably get something. And usually that will happen before the draft, because if you do it after the draft, now you're thinking about next year, right? And now you won't have now you have to trade Aaron Rodgers potentially before the trade deadline, and you won't have a quarterback. You'll have Jordan Love. Or you could make that trade before the draft, and then you have more options. That's what I'm saying. So yes, he has leverage.
And it's tough.
I agree with Boggins.
Because Gutekunst is kind of a butthole. So, like, he didn't want to work with him at all. So
is that kind of swear jar?
No, I said butthole.
He's a douche canoe.
Whoa, that's reserved for Jackson Mahomes. Okay, so he has some leverage, but he doesn't have the call to make is not his. It is not his to make whether he gets traded or not. I want to say he can't force his way out, but technically I guess he could.
I could see the Packers playing chicken with him, and if he says I'm going to retire, forcing his hand to
let him retire.
Yeah, see if he does it. I mean, he was there the first day of practice this year.
Well, that's and that I think that's the big question is like, what I mean. We saw Jordan Love play one game.
Oof,
wasn't a good game, but it's one game. Like you can't really judge how he's going to play off of one game. So
yeah, you usually need at least 18 games to realize that someone's terrible.
Wow. And you have to take into account.
Is that the standard that we've set, Glenn?
That Devontae Adams is probably out of there this year too. So if you're the Packers, are you just like, what are you doing? Like, are you going to try and trade him before the draft so you can, accumulate draft picks and really try to reload this thing? Or are you going to put yourself in a position where he might not play? You don't have Devontae Adams or another receiver. And then what? Then you're screwed. Or you kick this thing in the butt before it turns around on you and you get your capital.
But didn't Devontae Adams say that he would leave if Rodgers wasn't there?
I do believe he said that.
He alluded to that in a radio interview the other day that, they asked, is it kind of a package deal? And he's like, well, it could be, so not that they'd go to the same place, but that they would vacate at the same time.
Right. And so, I mean, again, Adams is kind of giving the Packers leverage on that one. Like, we're not going to let you go because if we let you go, then Devontae Adams is gone and we don't want that. So I don't know. It's weird and it's interesting and it will probably play itself out before the draft. But I still think I would rather have Wilson over Rodgers just because of the age.
Yeah.
I mean, that if you get Rodgers and, Tom Brady's going to play until he's 55, that's fine. Whatever. But Rodgers is not. He'll probably play until he's 41, 42. So we got, 3 years left? 4 years?
And can you pull up Dave Glassman's tagging Adams? Yes,
tagging Adams.
Can they still tag Adams?
Oh.
Yeah, they could. They could tag and trade him. Then they get even more capital. Yeah. Right? Then you have you trade Aaron Rodgers, you tag and trade Devontae Adams. There you go.
Adams Adams leaving Green Bay scares me a little bit.
Twice.
You know who his college quarterback was that he's still tight with, right?
Devontae Adams.
Yeah.
Who?
Derek Carr.
Oh yeah.
Oh yeah.
That would be horrendous.
I was gonna say. Oh yeah.
If he
But
ended up in silver and black.
I don't think the Raiders have a lot of cap space too, don't they?
A lot of cap space.
Yeah.
I don't know.
To be able to fit a Adams contract.
Well, of course, they've gotten rid of 3 first-round draft picks in the last.
And coach.
Where was that?
It's not like they have to pay.
Did Gruden count against the salary cap?
Yeah. Oh yeah. Absolutely. They still got to pay that.
Oh, what is it? 6 more years left of that?
Oh, where'd he go? It was KB82. This is Kenny Booker's. Oh, there it is. He says, "What's up, fellas? Why is everyone so mad at me that I don't think the Broncos should re-sign 29-year-old Melvin Gordon? I'd rather use that money on a Kenny Young or a Callahan contract."
So mad at you. So mad at you, KB.
I mean, I see both sides. I think that like Melvin Gordon is a good re-sign just because of how well the chemistry is together, but I wouldn't be mad if they let him walk. But I'm hoping that they have a plan in place when they let him walk. Because I mean, we've seen little flashes of Boone, but I have no idea if he's going to be that Melvin Gordon type back. And you don't want to burn out Javonte Williams early. I mean, I think that's one of the reasons why running backs peter off when they hit 30s, because they've been running so much in their careers. If you can have that 2 or 3 rotational or back rotation, that's when you have running backs like Frank Gore that can just keep going and going and going.
mean, that's what Javonte did at UNC too. He did it with Michael Carter. That's why he came into the league with a lot less wear and tear. And I definitely, as far as those other players you mentioned, I definitely value Melvin Gordon more than I value Kenny Young at this point in time. Like Melvin Gordon gets me touchdowns, and he helps with less wear and tear on Javonte Williams. I mean, catches out of the backfield. Kenny Young has been suspect over the last couple weeks and hasn't even played a full year with us yet. What was the other one? There was one more that he was.
It was Callahan.
Oh, Bryce Callahan. Yeah, I would try to, but he's also can't stay healthy. But when he does stay healthy, he's one of the top nickels in the league. I would definitely focus on getting him back. But even if we do sign Melvin Gordon, that's like $4.5 million. That's pennies. Like, okay.
Well, yeah, because if you put it into perspective, that's Melvin could be potentially making half what he's making this year, and Callahan's likely not going to get a raise from what he's getting this year. I think he's in the 7 range. So you could still re-sign those guys and not and actually make out better cap wise. And what's Kenny Young what's he going to command? I mean, he's making under 2, I think, isn't he?
You could let him hit free agency and then bring him back if you really want.
I do like him.
I do too, but I really do think we would sign Josie Jewell over any. I mean, it also very much depends on if Fangio is the head coach next year. I think we keep forgetting about that, but a lot of these free agents depend on whether or not a Fangio is back.
Yeah,
at this point, I know we talk about this almost on a weekly basis lately, but what do you think? Do you think Fangio's back next year?
If the Broncos make the playoffs, his survival goes up a lot. So it all really depends on how this game against the Bengals goes, how the rematch with the Chargers goes, and the rematch with the Raiders. The Chiefs, it would probably be a more important game for Denver than Kansas City, because Kansas City will more than likely clinch the division by then. So they may more than likely not even play their starters. But if the Broncos do miss the playoffs, then I believe that Fangio's seat will be pretty hot. And I think that Fangio will survive nonetheless, because I don't think as bad as things have been so far for the Broncos, they're still not as bad as things were last year. So unless things were worse last year, then I could have foreseen Fangio's way out. But I think that Fangio survives for at least one more year.
With changes to the staff.
I
think that has to be like, you have to go into it like you can stay, but he's got to go.
Yeah, definitely.
Shermer's got no shot.
Yeah,
I think
he's gone.
I mean, I think that Denver has to at minimum win 3 more games just to even be able to sniff the playoffs. And the Bengals have to be one. Like if we lose to the Bengals, no, there's no more playoffs. But I don't have an issue with Fangio staying as coach as long as we get a new offensive coordinator. And I was listening to Broncos Country tonight that they had yesterday, and Ryan made an interesting point. Like, you certainly can go and try to hire an offensive coordinator from another team. All you would have to do is say you're an offensive coordinator and an assistant head coach, and that's a bump up. So it's not a lateral move. It's technically a step up, and then you can do that.
Man, I would love,
which opens a lot of possibilities
with Fangio. If you could get someone else that gives Fangio just another little voice in his ear to help, man, I would love that.
Who's that? Who's it, Marcus? I missed it. Who was that you wanted with Fangio?
No. I'm saying if you could get anyone that you would be able to bump up to assistant head coach as well, I would love. I would love to be able to give Vic Fangio any sort of assistance on making specific calls that he is not good at.
Well, and I'd kind of made the point on the pregame show with Glenn. I wouldn't mind if Fangio stayed. You move Munchak up to offensive coordinator and bring in probably the second best offensive line coach, Bill Callahan, to coach the offensive line.
Yeah, I don't know. I'm not a huge Munchak fan. As far as offensive coordinator, I wouldn't personally, but that's good.
I think where he is.
And talking about coaches, I'm shocked that we're 42 minutes in and Mike is not.
Urban Meyer.
Oh yeah.
Well, what I was gonna say was
he already got kicked out.
I think this all depends on who the next quarterback is and how much say they have. I mean, if we get a Rodgers or a Wilson in here, I'm pretty sure that they're going to want to have a say of this is who I would like either the offensive coordinator or the coach to be. So it depends on that. But yes, Urban Meyer is a moron and got fired 13 games into the season. I guess there were reports that he kicked the kicker. And then told him to deal with it. He's the head coach. He can do what he wants. And then Glenn told me that Urban Meyer drove away from the facility and just never showed back up again. And I figured that was after practice. Turns out it was before practice. So did he quit? Like, is that what we're looking at?
Well, apparently the staff had no idea that he was they were waiting for him to come back. Had no idea. That's the report I heard.
Right. So that's what I'm saying. Like, and they didn't
it's either
release the announcement that he was fired until like midnight. So did he know or did he quit?
It's either he knew he was going to get fired or booty call. One of the two.
He went to Twin Peaks.
Yeah.
He was really hungry.
I like it.
Oh, I love the wings there.
But there's
he went to go kick it with his girls.
There was one more point that I wanted to make about quarterback before we kind of go into the Bengals. I don't listen to Colin Cowherd very often, but there was one thing he said that I agreed with. And he said, Denver is Tampa Bay before Brady came to Tampa Bay. Like, we're right there. We're a quarterback away and maybe a little adjustment on the offensive line, and we're where Tampa Bay is now. And so with that in mind, if we're not able to get the big signings at quarterback, the big trades, either the Wilson or the Rodgers or the Cousins or Ryan, and Teddy Bridgewater's looking for $25 million a year, which honestly, now that we've kind of sat back and thought about it, that's really not that much. I mean, it's Ben Albright said it was Nick Foles money. So, I mean, that's right about where he probably should be. But do we bring back Teddy Bridgewater in that scenario, or do we go for another steady quarterback that might be maybe a little cheaper, maybe a little, I don't know, like maybe do we go for like a Marcus Mariota, or do we go for Tyrod Taylor, like, or do we stick with Teddy, knowing what we're getting?
I'm gonna say.
I'm assuming we're getting a rookie quarterback at that point.
Yeah, I'm gonna say no, because while $25 million to Denver's cap space isn't a lot, I don't think. Yeah, he's gonna tag team with CM Punk. I don't think that
Anna J.
I don't think that Bridgewater has played like a $25 million quarterback this year, and I just don't think that a change at offensive coordinator is gonna make him play like that. I mean, I would much rather, if you can't get any of those vet guys and you can't get anybody out on the market to trade or as a free agent, and I know a lot of people are probably going to hate me saying this, but I would probably just rather roll with Drew Lock.
Oh, no. Shut your face.
That's just me.
Shut your mouth. He's not even coming back.
I know he's not coming back, but
I promise you he's going to demand a trade.
This is a hypothetical situation. I'm not saying it's going to happen and that I don't want it to happen.
You're good because it's not.
Yeah, okay. But
I actually think Drew Lock's going to start. No, I'm just kidding.
You're about to go in timeout. Stop.
Yeah. I was going to help.
Go ahead, Boggins.
Oh, no.
No, go ahead. No, finish your point.
No, there was mop up for a done.
Finish it, Don.
No, that
was, is it? Oh, okay.
Yeah, that was.
No, I don't think.
I
wouldn't pay Teddy Bridgewater. I think whoever you bring in as offensive coordinator or new head coach will have someone more in mind that maybe that they stem from a system they're more used to than Teddy Bridgewater. Like I just don't see Teddy being back.
And unless
unless you keep the whole shebang, unless you keep Fangio and Shermer.
No.
There's no chance of that.
If you look at the free agent quarterback, I mean, unless with a coaching change, some quarterbacks get let go. Right now, the cherry on top of the free agent quarterback pool is Ben Roethlisberger. No. After that, you're looking at Andy Dalton and Tyrod Taylor.
Yeah.
Please don't mention Ben Roethlisberger and Poole in the same sentence. Bad visuals.
I'm saying like at the top of the free agent quarterback list right now.
No.
Yeah, I mean, if you're looking at free agents right now, and again, it could change depending on coaching changes. I mean, top of the list, you're looking at Ben Roethlisberger, and then since he's probably going to retire, I would assume, you're looking at Andy Dalton and Tyrod Taylor. I mean, are those better options than Teddy Bridgewater?
I forgot the four I posted the other day, but I know that it was Tyrod Taylor, Marcus Mariota, Mitchell Trubisky, Jameis
Phillip Rivers.
I think those four are potential, like,
I would
semi-young enough and athletic
enough,
or like that would be meh if we had a rookie quarterback as well.
And there were a lot of people that were in on Marcus Mariota at this last offseason. I wouldn't have a problem with it. I just don't know if I don't know if I trust him to be the starter. That's the problem. But again, is Marcus Mariota or Andy Dalton or Tyrod Taylor an upgrade over Teddy Bridgewater?
Yeah.
I mean, at the same time, with Teddy, we didn't exactly get what we were sold. He doesn't turn the ball over, but he's missing some reads and he's holding the ball too long.
Check down.
But how much of that is Shermer? How much of that is Teddy? How much of that is the offensive line?
We are we are getting what we knew. Like
exactly what
he's doing. He's doing exactly what we thought he was going to do. He doesn't have. I'm saying that the others have higher ceilings than Teddy Bridgewater. That's what I'm saying. Okay. I'm not saying it's going to be like, it's some crazy upgrade. It's not going to be that. It's going to be like dealing with what we didn't get in the offseason because we didn't get Aaron Rodgers, because we didn't get Russell Wilson or Kirk Cousins or whoever. This is what we have to deal with now. And that would be like a Mitchell Trubisky or a Marcus Mariota or whatever, and most likely a rookie quarterback. If we have to go into this offseason and we are seriously having to draft a first-round quarterback, we have a problem. Like
Who
straight up,
would you
we have a problem.
if we do that? Who would you rather have at quarterback, Teddy or one of the free agents?
One of the free agents. I don't want Teddy back.
Which
That's
one?
what I'm saying.
And this isn't
Probably-
taking offensive coordinator into account.
QB1
Probably-
Andy Dalton. Come on now.
Probably Marcus Mariota or Mitchell Trubisky.
No, I'd pass on Bisky. I'd say Mariota.
Okay.
I'd take Teddy. You know,
Or Tyrod. I don't mind Tyrod. He just can't ever stay healthy.
you know,
He's really good at grooming rookie QBs as far as
perfect.
getting hurt, and then they come in and do well. So maybe we do that. Maybe we just pull a Tyrod because he's good luck, and then we draft a rookie QB, and then rookie QB
And then
turns into
just
Russell Wilson.
a simple needle, a simple shot just goes awry, and
Yep.
he's on the bench again.
Yeah.
Yep.
You know, this conversation just makes me wonder how the NFL can possibly be thinking about expansion, because if at the quarterback position, once you get past 32, we're looking at these terrible choices. It's I mean, think about it. How do you field a new team with some of these quarterbacks we're naming as possibilities? It's
They'd be
terrible.
stars in the CFL, though.
Oh yeah. Oh yeah, and that
Paxton
brings up
Lynch was the fourth on the depth chart of
Was
quarterbacks.
up there with Johnny Manziel.
I recently learned that there are actually pro leagues, and not NFL, but like football pro leagues in other countries that I did not know about, where like I don't remember where I saw some reality TV show that my fiance was making me watch, that the guy was like, I'm a pro football player, and I'm like, no, you're not. And then I realized that there are other, like in Europe, they have pro leagues, so they would
pro
be
league
great
in Croatia. Then instead of
Yeah.
throwing a football, they throw a cinder
Mhm.
block.
Oh,
Um,
I want that person.
there was one more thing that I didn't even remember, but Brittany Boland was talking about. The second biggest Broncos fan location was it Mexico City?
Mexico, the country. Woo!
Was it Mexico as the country or Mexico City?
It's Mexico, the whole country.
The country they got.
The
Okay.
biggest amount of
And
Broncos
she-
fans reside in Mexico City.
Yeah, outside of Denver.
Yeah.
And she was saying that she would love to have games in Mexico.
She's
I
not
mean,
going to pull home games to wait.
No.
Those would be road.
Well, I'm assuming it would be kind of like the London trip. I
Yeah,
mean,
but it's
obviously it
way
wouldn't be
better.
as far, but it wouldn't be
way
as far.
better.
But
I hate the London thing. That's just so
do you?
dumb.
Hey, that
But
would
do you-
make
But that wouldn't be a Denver Broncos call though. That would have to be a league call, right? So it wouldn't just be
Yeah.
like Mexico games. Wouldn't just be Denver Broncos games.
Well, I mean, the ownership would push for those games. I mean, because we have done it before, right? We have done a couple Mexico City games before. We would have to push. I mean, the whole COVID thing would have to kind of resolve itself. I mean, nothing's going to happen until the healthcare system over there deals with whatever, and then we would be able to do that. But like the ownership would be able to push their name, put their name in the hat, be like, hey, we want to play in Mexico City, and then league would be able to schedule that.
I trust Peyton too, but don't shut up. Keep commenting.
Yeah, we enjoy it. Yeah, so the Broncos got the marketing deal with Mexico, and the Patriots actually got Germany. I don't know if you saw that yesterday.
Guten
Nice.
Tag.
KB82, do you completely close the door on Watson? Would you be
Yes.
willing to sacrifice 2 first-round picks?
Nope.
Yes, and 2 reasons. 1, because none of his legal stuff has been figured out, and 2, it's been pretty clear that Watson does not want to come to Denver. So
Yep.
I don't even think we have an option in that one.
Wait, isn't that the guy
Easy.
that doesn't want to sign Melvin Gordon?
Get
him outta here.
Get out of
You're in timeout, KB.
So let's take a quick look at the Bengals game. I mean, you even though it's a different team, you have to think that Denver's going to stick or should stick with the same game plan they had with the Lions. Run the ball, run the ball, run the ball, pass yourself out of trouble, but then run the ball some more. Right?
Yep. And they also have, but they have Awuzie's out apparently, and so is, oh gosh, one of their premier offensive linemen is also out. But you stick with what you know. You stick with what you're good at. I mean, we need to just run the ball down their throats. But my problem with this game is I think I am kind of afraid of Joe Mixon and what he could potentially do to our run defense because it's not great. However, we did seem to hold Austin Eckler. I think it's going to be a very similar game to that. If we do similar game plan to what we did against the Chargers, I think we're going to have a lot better of a chance in this game. But that Bengals offense is looking really good with Burrow and Jamar Chase and T. Higgins and whatnot.
Well, I mean, the Bengals are almost like a mirror image of the Broncos, right? Like you get Joe Mixon and the running backs going, and
yeah.
But yeah, like
he's one of my favorite players in the NFL. Yeah. Joe Burrow,
yeah,
coolest guy. I mean, he's amazing. And then for them to get flack that they drafted a wide receiver instead of a lineman, we got to protect this guy. Yeah. And they draft Chase, and he's already over 1,000 yards. He's averaging over 17 yards a catch. I mean, the guy and his rapport with Burrow. I mean, this is just. This is a combo that should be successful for many, many years to come.
It's kind of funny though, coming out of that LSU system, like everybody was like, "Oh my God, Joe Brady fired! Oh my God, Ogden fired!" So, like Joe Burrow and Jamar Chase made out like bandits.
Well, I've never quite understood the narrative of drafting an offensive line over drafting a skill position, like a receiver or a running back or something. Like I understand you, like if you have no offense, like no good players on the offensive line, obviously you focus on the offensive line. But if you have a serviceable or a manageable offensive line, and you need like one or two added to it, you have to go and get that game-changing player like Chase, because the quarterback still has to have somebody to throw it to. I mean, if you take Chase out, you leave Higgins all by himself, and then he's getting doubled all the time. I don't know if Higgins is as talented as Chase is, and I don't know if he would be able to overcome the double teams all season long, every game.
No, I mean, he's a first round pick, but he's not a Jamar Chase first round pick. But I mean, what a duo, and then you have Boyd.
True.
But then to have, like Boggin said, Mixon in the backfield. I mean, he's already over 1,000 yards this early on. It's amazing.
Jeffrey Bryan, thank you guys for the great forum for debate or just a simple release of steam. The hosts and viewers are all top notch. I know. Thanks, Glenn, for turning me onto this. I mean, that's honestly what we're for. I mean, we're a fan-led podcast. I mean, we're not a media podcast, so we're not breaking stories. We get the breaking stories, and we come here and we react to them as fans. I mean, that's kind of what we're here for, is just to vent. Unless you're talking about Drew Lock, and then something's going to go down.
Riley Reef is the other one that's potentially out. I forgot to. That's what I know.
Yeah,
Riley Reef.
That is a big
but yeah, I mean, you have to key in on Joe Mixon. I think if Joe Mixon gets going, that's when you start having problems with the Bengals offense. And then the other one, the matchup I'm looking forward to is Patrick Surtain versus Chase. Like, that's going to be really fun to watch.
Two speedy guys.
And then, so are they? I mean, they're not going to have guys specifically assigned to guys, correct?
Like man,
or are is it going to be Patrick Surtain versus Jamar Chase all game, and then Ronald Darby on Higgins, or are they going to swap? Is it going to be zone?
I don't think. I mean, all the above, except for I don't think Fangio shadows. I think it just depends on what side they're lining up on. But yeah, that's why it's funny when people are like this person versus this person. Yeah. Sometimes during the game, absolutely, it depends on. I mean, it's not like remember when they like a Patrick Peterson or Darrelle Revis when they used to have them literally shadow the best player. I think Belichick likes to do that a lot. Belichick's really good at like whoever your best player is, we're gonna take that away from you. Like do everything in our power to take that away from you and see what you do. That's not Fangio's defense. Fangio's just like, I'm sticking to this, and that's what's going to be.
And we're going to win.
And
then we'll throw some disguise. I mean, it will be interesting to see like a mastermind, a defensive mastermind like Vic Fangio's disguises against like a younger QB.
Yeah, and I think the biggest key to the game, aside from Mixon, is Denver's defensive line. Like, this is one of those games where you have a weakened offensive line. You've got to get that pass rush in Burrow's face to stop Mixon and to stop Burrow. I think if we're able to get pressure on Burrow like we have been able to get pressure over the last 3 games, then we should be just fine. He's not going to have time to throw. Mixon's not going to get loose, and we should be okay.
We also have to remember he is mobile. Like he doesn't, he isn't a statue back there. He can move too. So I hope that that's not something they really take for granted. I'm not saying they need to spy him the whole time or anything, but like he can move and he will put a shoulder down on you. So it's going to be interesting to watch.
Well, that's one of those. Burrow's one of those quarterbacks that I prefer to have Weatherly, aka the mad scientist, out there instead of Reed, because Reed is good at the pass rush, but he doesn't really eat up the holes like Weatherly does. Weatherly will get to where he needs to go, and if he can't get the quarterback, he's in the way all the time. And I've said it multiple times. That's why I would prefer to have Weatherly out there over Reed, especially against a mobile quarterback like Burrow.
Yeah, it's going to be a really good matchup in between all those guys. Is Kareem Jackson coming back, or is he still on the injury report?
Oh, I haven't even looked at the injury report yet. Hold on.
Yeah, I thought it was fun. Do you still have?
Because I haven't seen it yet either.
He played last game though, didn't he?
Well, he had that collision on the side.
Right.
Come out. But so far the Bengals they're coming off a 2-game losing streak. One to the Chargers and then one against San Francisco last week. So they're gonna come in a little bit hungrier than us in terms of trying to get a win, especially on the road for them. But this is a
lost
game.
To the Jets.
They lost to the Jets, right? So we have to take advantage that the Bengals are not at 100%. They're not as formidable as they looked like they were at the beginning of the season, and just kind of throw our name in the hat for a playoff run to tell the league like, hey, we're far from out of it yet, because everywhere around the league it's a really tight race, and giving this season an extra game is just probably going to make things a little bit more harder to decipher come after the Monday Night Football game.
When I say they're vulnerable, I should let me just kind of expound on that a little bit. Is that to me they kind of mirror the Broncos a little bit, that you are not always sure what team you're going to get. They're very similar to us in that fashion. I think they had a big win against the Ravens, and then they follow it up with a loss against the Jets. So when I say vulnerable, I'm not necessarily saying that loss still stings, and even weeks later, it's something that could affect them. I'm just saying that they've had a tendency to kind of be up and down this year, and so it is a very winnable game, even with the weapons that they've got.
So right now it looks like Shelby Harris is questionable, Kenny Young's questionable, Draymond Jones, Bobby Massey, Caden Stern, Stephen Weatherly, Kareem Jackson, Javonte Williams, and Melvin Gordon are all questionable, but the only ones that are even in danger of not playing is Kareem, Kenny, and then it depends on COVID protocols for Malik and Mike Boone.
Yeah, I think the edge rush was did pretty well without Malik Reed last week. So if he happens to miss another week, it won't be a huge blow. But losing Kenny Young, that is gonna be a really big in terms of trying to stop Joe Mixon.
Jeffrey Bryan has fantasy football questions. Don't ask me, man. I lose all the time.
Yeah, me and Mundungus are facing in the vanity. We played terrible. So
I've lost to both of my sons twice. So no. I have Chase and the Denver D. I have option wide receiver. I have no idea what to do. Definitely start Denver's D. I don't know about Chase.
Yeah.
I'd start Chase too.
I would start Chase.
How do you bench him?
Probably.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, he's bound to get a 75-yard touchdown or something.
Let's hope not.
Yeah, and I mean, even if it's not in like the first three quarters, like let's say the Bengals are trailing, you're still going to get some Jamar Chase, Burrow deep throws in garbage time yards. So yeah, start them both. Let's see. EJ's already throwing out score predictions, so let's throw them out there as well. EJ says 28-21 Broncos win. Who you guys got?
I'm gonna say 20. What did I say before? 20.
I don't know.
I'll say 27-23 Broncos. Sorry, Adon, if I snaked you, but
yeah.
Okay.
27-23.
I'm going to say 21-17 Broncos.
I think it's going to be a pretty low scoring game. I think it's going to be like 13-10 Broncos. I think there's going to be a lot of running in this game.
I am going to go the opposite. I'm going to say Broncos 31, Bengals 21. 10-point win.
I like that.
That's what I think. Because you had mostly a running game against the Lions too. We still scored 30-something points. So, man, I don't know. Yeah, I think it's going to end up being like 31-21. 10-point. Jeffrey Bryan, I'm going to cheat and say the Bengals scored 23. Okay, how about the Broncos? 24. 24-23. That's what he's going with.
Yeah, they also have one of the best run defenses in the league. So,
right there. We put up 24, we win. 24-23.
Yeah.
Avatar says 21-10. Works for me. I think the Broncos are 2.5-point favorites.
Mm-hmm. Bengals are
and at-home favorites. When was the last time we were an at-home favorite?
Woo! Not since
1947.
Mike hasn't been a favorite.
I don't think
since he got married. Actually,
shut up, Glenn. Because were we even? We weren't favored against the Lions, were we?
Not even since Mike's 13th
I think so.
kid.
Yeah.
It was a while
of course
ago.
you were favored against the Lions.
Not since my third kid have I been a favorite at home. All right, so that's going to do it for us. Make sure you like, subscribe, comment, share, turn on notifications so you can catch all of our content when it's posted. Also, Johnny Maki, the bearded Viking guy, he was on Broncos Country tonight with Ryan Edwards and Benjamin Albright, and he said it's going to be on 9:25 Mountain Time tonight.
Yeah.
I think is what he said. So make sure you're tuning into that as well. Also tune in to Broncos Talk every Tuesday at 7654. The Nothing Rhymes with Orange and Blue podcast every Friday at 7654. And our own pregame show, The Neighborhood, that airs before every Broncos game. You can also get all the audio versions of every podcast on all major podcast streaming services. Links are in the description below. Now, we got to end it with everybody's favorite thing, and that's the Mile High 2. So get your hands out there, and we go, Mile High 5! Woo! There we go. That's done. Boggins, I'm not even giving you a chance to do anything weird, so we're going to go ahead and we're going to head out on that.